The world river flows, unhindered by the hourglass and the shedding of the world skin. The Kalpas may begin and end and begin again, but the world river flows unhindered. There are rushes of white water and sinuous streams, meandering through time at a jaunty pace. All mortals need two things to live: the divine light of Aetherius, seeping through the sun and stars, and water. The gods may battle and bleed in the songs, but they don't know how precious water is. Man, mer, and beast alike are made from water, and when they are pierced, the water drains from them along with their life. When a mortal dies, their soul traverses the heavens and reaches the dream sleeve, but the husk remains. The body returns to the earth. The waters nourish the land, and even the intangible parts, the memories and knowledge of the individual, trickle into the seas, where they endure for eternity. The bards of Tamriel love to write and sing in poetic prose. A recurring metaphor is the association between memory and water. Since the Elder Scrolls is a song, and belief makes reality, this figurative language holds more truth than one might think. In the words of the Bosma spinner named Gurnelin, the sea is all-enclosing, the water that encircles all of Mundus. The birds call out that which occurs over land to the sea, which reflects and echoes that song. Through study of the sea's mystery, it is possible to interpret Ifri's song tapestry. Water is a great mystery in the Elder Scrolls. Whole continents sink under the sea. Destroyed Daedric creatures rematerialize from strange pools of water. A race of hyper-intelligent sea beasts once ruled Mundus, and the tides dictate the phases of the moons, allowing the Khajiit to manifest. But with the significance of water not only in the mortal realm, but in all the orbits, where are the sea gods? So many mysteries, so many questions, and so much speculation to be had. Hey guys, it's Drew here, and welcome back to Fudge Muppet. In today's video, I want to dive deep into the role of water in the Elder Scrolls. Its use as a metaphor when referring to memory and time and the void exceeds colourful language. There is real magic there, and we're going to delve down to the seabed, far from the light, where all the universe's best-kept secrets reside. Until recently, our understanding of water's supernatural properties in the Elder Scrolls was rather ambiguous, but lore added by ESO has confirmed these arcane properties. Whenever the Kalpic cycle is referenced, allusions to water are often made. When Pelennor Whitestrake confronted Umril the Unfeathered, Meridia's champion, before the Tower of White Gold, the Aelid Sorcerer King spoke of his divine heritage. The Song of Pelennor says, "The half-elf showed himself bathed in meridian light, and he listed his bloodline in the Aeladun, and spoke of his father, a god of the previous Kalpa's world river." It is a cryptic, incomplete line, the words salvaged from old weathered fragments. There is no elaboration on this so-called world river, and whether it is literal or poetic is beyond mortal authority to determine. Mankar Cameron, a disciple of Dagon, also writes of a previous Kalpa, in which the Mundex terrene was ruled over solely by the tyrant Dread Kings, each to their own dominion, and border wars were fought between their slave oceans. They were akin to the time totems of old, yet evil and full of mockery and profane powers. No one that lived did so outside the sufferance of the dregs. But the Magnagi, who came from diverse waters, created Mehrunes the Razor in secret, in the very bowels of Lig. Mehrunes threw down Lig and cracked his face, declaring each of the 19 and 9 and 9 oceans free. Mankar's manifesto is overflowing with references to water. Another verse is rife with them. Night follows day, and so know that this primary insight shall fall alike unto the turbulent evening sea, where all faiths are tested. Again a reassurance. Even the usurper went under the iliac before he rose up to claim his fleet. Fear only for a second. Shaken belief is like water for a purpose. In the garden of the dawn, we shall breathe whole realities. I could spend another 20 minutes analysing Mankar's riddles, and I've done that in the past if such a video would interest you. But he is not the focus of this particular video. Luxuriant language could quite easily be credited for all of these water-based metaphors. But it is interesting how, from what little we know about previous cycles of the mortal realm, all of the clearest memories involve rivers and oceans and floods. The fate of the dregs was a gradual downfall in both power and intelligence. These sea-dwelling crustaceans still show signs of their former glory, but it is obscured, like trying to gaze through the opacity of the abyss. Vivek, the warrior poet, has documented his dealings with the dregs in his esoteric lessons. He mentions their castles of glass and coral. He writes about their chief, Molag Bal, and he talks of a mysterious power called the Water Face that he learned from them. Sermon 16 says, the golden warrior poet had been exercising his water face as well, learned from the dregs before he was born. The water face cannot lie. It comes from the ocean, which is too busy to think, much less lie. Moving water resembles truth by its trembling. The notion that the ocean is too busy to think and lie is a fascinating one. When you stand on the shores of Tamriel and gaze out to the horizon, the rhythmic breaking of waves on the beach and the steady undulations of the surface may seem ponderous in its movements, but no one would claim the sea itself is capable of pondering. The warrior poet seems to be asserting that the ocean is weighed down by the thoughts and memories of countless generations and the passage of time immeasurable. Furthermore, Vivek's dealings with the Ruddy Man, an aspect of the ancient aquatic chief of the dregs, Molag Bal, draw yet another connection between water and memory. Sermon 28 says, when the dregs ruled the world, the Daedroth prince Molag Bal had been their chief. He took a different shape then, spiny and armoured and made for the sea. Vivek, in giving birth to the many spawn of his marriage, had dropped an old image of Molag Bal into the world, a dead carapace of memory. This exoskeleton, the shed skin of an arthropod demon, is made of memory, preserved through the kalpas by water. There is one final phrase from the 36 lessons to mention, and that comes from Sermon 29, the scripture of the numbers. Number 28 is the drowned lamp, which Vivek references in his meeting with Cyrus the Red Guard. Upon further elaboration from Michael Kirkbride, the drowned lamp pertains to knowledge that is lost. To follow the path of the drowned lamp is for all knowledge of you to be forgotten. Even in the current Kalpa, the greatest mysteries of the formative eras, the Dawn and the Malefic, involve mighty cataclysms and forgotten drowned lands. War broke out and raged across the whole of Nirn. The old Elnathay retained their ancient power and knowledge, but the Wanderers were more numerous and toughened by their long struggle to survive on Nirn. This war reshaped the face of Nirn, sinking much of the land beneath new oceans and leaving the lands as we know them, Tamriel, Akavir, Admora and Yakuda. If the creation story posited by the annotated Annuad is to be believed, then all the land masses on Nirn were once connected, and all the terrain that was lost is now resting on the bottom of the seas and oceans encompassing Tamriel. To sink or to drown in the Elder Scrolls universe is to be forgotten. These lands that once connected the continent have been forgotten. So too have Yakuda and Old Meris. Of course, not everyone has forgotten about these two continents, and some Yakudan and Old Meri descendants strive tirelessly to preserve the memory of what was. Yakuda, with the exception of a few small islands, did physically sink, and with it much of the culture and traditions of the Yakudans. The Crowns do their best to adhere to their ancient tenets, but using sword singing as a prime example, there is no doubt that the sinking of their homeland did irreparable damage to their sacred institutions, and once essential aspects of Yakudan society have now been consigned to legend and folk tales. As for Old Meris, whether this continent actually existed is up for debate. The Annuad states that a large fragment of the Elnathay world landed on Nirn relatively intact. The ancestors to elves fortified their borders from the chaos outside, hid their pocket of calm, and attempted to live on as before. While the Wanderers, on the other hand, they were scattered, but they eventually found their way home and were amazed and joyful to find their kin living amid the splendour of ages past. There is no mention of the old Elnathay landing in a southern continent before returning to Tamriel. The New Manshir Intercept states that the Aldmer began to split along cultural lines, on how best to spread creation and their parts in it. This sundering of purpose is the myth of the destruction of Old Meris. Outside of the Dawn, and even then only in the dreamtime of its landscape, there was never a terrestrial homeland of the elves. Old Elnathay is a magical ideal of mixed memories of the Dawn. Do not believe the written histories. All mortal life started on the starry heart of Dawn's beauty, Tamriel. This excerpt may be considered heretical to the dogmatic Ultima, who reminisce about the lost paradise of Aldmeris, but it fits perfectly with the theme that water is memory. Even the most experienced navigators of Somerset were unable to rediscover Aldmeris. And according to the Pocket Guide to the Empire, some say that Aldmeris was sunk into the sea by the angry gods of the Ultima. Others claim that the elven homeland has left Mundus, and will only return when the races of Mer are united as one. If the sinking of Aldmeris is a metaphor for the cultural divergence of the Ultima, then the ocean represents the loss of customs and tradition. The landmass itself is the collective memories of a great Aldmeri society, while the water engulfing it is the amnesia, the force that causes the various races of Mer to abandon the past and carve out their own future. For Aldmeris to return, the elves would need to reunite and restore the memories of the Dawn. Until then, the continent and what it represents will remain lost beneath the murky waters of the Elferic Ocean. As we discover more about the hidden power of water, it makes me wonder, what does this mean for the Malma of Piandania? If the tales are true, then Orgnum, the king of the Sea Elves, was a phenomenally wealthy Aldma nobleman, who used his finances to launch a rebellion against the powers of the land. He and his followers were banished for this treachery, to a place separated from Aldmeris by an impenetrable mist, a place called Piandania, the Veil of Mist. For many centuries they were forgotten by Aldma society. This mist that physically blanketed the Isle of Piandania also served as a means of obscuring the memory of them to the rest of the elven world. Forgive me for sounding like your primary school science teacher, but mist is composed of small particles of water. And in this context, the impenetrable mists serve not only to isolate the Sea Elves physically, but also to purge the memory of the rebellious taint Orgnum brought to Aldmeri society. King Orgnum is believed to be an undying wizard, driven by his desire for vengeance. So long as he cheats death, he keeps the memory of his exile alive, treading the waters of obscurity. And this is where we reach an interesting crossover between the waters of Mundus and the waters of Oblivion. In a moment I'll go over the significance of water to the Daedra lords and their realms, but before that, let's look at the definition of Oblivion. Aside from the planes of Oblivion, the word Oblivion can also mean the state of being forgotten, or to go extinct, or to be unaware or unconscious of something's existence. So when we hear the common Elder Scrolls motif, the waters of Oblivion, this does not always have to be purely literal. Yes, it can mean the pools of chaotic creation that Daedric vestiges are reborn from, but in the mortal realm, the waters of Oblivion can mean the waters of extinction, or the forgotten waters. To sink is to no longer be remembered. Thus, water is inextricably intertwined with memory. Many Daedric princes have a connection to water in one way or another. For some, the connection is small, like Veamina, whose realm of quagmire is described as a moonlit swamp, inhabited by dark twisted trees, howling spirits, and billowing mists. When Morian Xenos ventured there, his environment rapidly changed. One moment he was wading through the swamp, a cesspool of foul memories and noxious nightmares. Then there was a flash of lightning, and suddenly he was on a ship. The mast was tattered, the crew slaughtered, and something came toward him through the waves. Nightmares tend to haunt mortals in an unconscious state, but in the heat of the moment, they are no less real than memories. To other princes, water is fundamental to their sphere, their manifestation, and the legends associated with them. I'm sure you can guess which prince I'm thinking of. Hermaeus Mora is the guardian of the unseen and knower of the unknown. And in the context of this discussion, you could say then that he is the guardian of Oblivion, the one who remembers what was forgotten. In the old Atmoran legends, he is the abyssal cephaliarch, the cephalopod god. His realm of Apocrypha is an endless library of forbidden knowledge and memories of creation. The Parchment Archipelago is surrounded by seas of roiling black ink, denser than the deepest depths of Nirn's oceans. In Khajiit spirituality, Hamora is a pivotal figure, for according to Clan Mother Anisi, he is the tides. For who can say whether the moons predict the tides, or the tides predict the moons? Amon Dro, the silent Khajiit priest, says, Hamora records all the events he perceives, and stores them away in a great library under the sea. While the other races of Tamriel may dismiss Khajiit religious teachings, there is no denying the significance of this particular belief. If water is memory, and the oceans are brimming with countless generations of accrued knowledge, then it makes perfect sense that Apocrypha would lie on the bottom of the sea, and it would align perfectly with the way Mora chooses to manifest to mortals. Not as a man, not as a woman, but as a cephalopod, the most intelligent of invertebrates, physiologically suited to the deep sea. That covers all of the metaphysical references to the magical properties of water and its connection to memory. But lore added by ESO has confirmed that water is memory in the Elder Scrolls. A Dremora in the service of Hermaeus Mora named Herald Kizafi has this to say on water. When a mortal dies, where do you think their memories go? They go into the water. They become water. All the memories of Tamriel's history are stored in its waters. The details and implications of this secret are mind-spinning and would require a lifetime of study and contemplation. In the catacombs of Honor's Rest, the vestige drank from the memorial pools and was shown memories of 2 long-dead mortals. There is also a sect of the Mages Guild devoted to the magic of sight. This sect, called the Order of the Eye, are able to divine visions and prophecies. One method involves the use of scrying bowls filled with water. No complex alchemical concoctions, simply water. To a Daedra, the waters of Oblivion give them shape and substance. This chaotic creature restores their identity after death. To mages, water is an untapped arcane resource, as abundant as it is powerful. To the Redguards and High Elves, water holds memories of what once was, of a home they'll never see again. Water is memory, the knowledge of everything that has ever lived and died. To give your mind to the meandering flow of a river, or the perpetual rise and fall of the waves, is to let go of all your gathered knowledge, all your fondest memories, and to donate them to Hermaeus Mora's infinite archive under the sea. Mortals know about the plains of Oblivion, and we foolishly try to guard ourselves from them. But Oblivion is all around us. When we die, when we're forgotten, we fade into Oblivion. Perhaps that is why we call it Oblivion. Those gods who did not take part in creation were cast into obscurity, and thus will forever endeavour to be involved with mortal affairs, to gain validation, to be remembered. Whatever the case, the waters of Oblivion await everyone, not just the Daedra. When a mortal soul passes to the dream sleeve, the contents of their mind return to water. And there you have it, guys, why water is memory in the Elder Scrolls universe. I hope you enjoyed this quite peculiar topic. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Drew, this has been Fudge Muppet, and I'll see you in the next one.